right, 6 o'clock. We'll call this meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you everyone for attending. First item on the agenda is recognition, and I'd like to welcome Mr. Ralph Kay as our newest member of the committee. Thank you for your stepping up to fill the role, and welcome aboard. Thanks. Any other recognition?
Yeah, just a few. I want to first recognize, I think Mr. Murphy's going to do this later on tonight as well, but Clem McNamara, who is our reading teacher over at the elementary school, who organized Camp Read A Lot. That's been a year-to-year tradition that we've organized the Friday prior to vacation, where pretty much every classroom in the elementary school spends parts of the day reading together, out loud, individually. So just another way to instill the love of reading into our students. I also want to give a shout out and a big thank you to our custodial staff, who, as you have all seen, our winter has been a real winter this year, and we've had a lot of snow and ice and sleet. And this past storm, even though it was on a Sunday, did a fantastic job of cleaning up the parking lot. It's down to bare asphalt. If we had a week of school, that may have been another snow day. Thankfully it was not, but they've done a nice job of making sure that our sidewalks and our parking lots have been clear. So thank you to Eric and his team for their hard efforts. And last but not least, I want to just mention that the girls basketball team qualified for the MIA state tournament. They are playing the Collegiate Charter School of Lowell tomorrow evening at 5 o'clock. So they'll be traveling from North Brookfield to Lowell for the game tomorrow evening. I believe they finished 10-7, Mr. Dura, does that sound correct?
Yes.
So another winning season for the girls basketball team. So congratulations to Coach Malone and the team for making the tournament. And that's it for this evening.
Nice.
Next item on the agenda is approval of minutes. You've all received minutes in your packet. Any comments or questions?
So can we ask questions about, not, I have questions that I could have asked last meeting, but I couldn't attend, so. Is that what I asked? Is that what I asked? I don't know.
Right. Well, first let's
Make a motion?
make a motion to approve the minutes.
I make a motion to approve the minutes from last meeting.
Have a second, please? Second. All right. Discussion.
So I just had a question in regards to the sub-separate class that we had all the staff leave. And so there was a teacher hired and that teacher also departed. And what's the status now?
We have a long-term sub in that classroom. I believe it was either in last month's or this month's.
Still the same, you don't have it
Yes.
hired?
Correct.
Where's Caitlin?
She's sick today.
Oh. So here are our minutes right here, right?
Yes, she'll probably do the minutes from the video.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions? All in favor of approving the minutes as recorded? Aye. Public participation. Any public participation? Yes.
Sheila LeBlanc, town accountant. I just have a quick question. Jason Petritis forwarded some reports to me regarding the school budget and their balance for this year. Historically, I send my balance up to the school and I don't see these reports. But on this report that was submitted to Mr. Petritis, it shows that your remaining balance is still $7,028,605. But that was what was voted at the beginning of the year. so it's not in agreement with mine. And this was a program-generated report.
So you're saying there's no running tally of how much money's been spent?
Well, this is said that this was submitted for the January school committee meeting. And if you look at it, and I can share it with you, it does not tell you, it tells you what your balance is according to this program, but it's not close to mine.
So I don't know specifically which one you're looking at. I know that Danielle is working through some issues with Tyler, but we right now have expended 3.381 million of the total 7.028 million.
But it's not on this report.
Yeah, that report, is that the Tyler report you're referring to?
The Tyler report.
Yeah. So that report, and that's something that we are working through, it doesn't translate to what the current budget is.
Okay, so this is also a Tyler report?
I don't know which one that is.
This is mine, and it translates to what the budget balance is. And part of the DESI regulations on 603 is that you have to have a program that breaks down your expenses and your revenues.
And we do. I'm not sure. I don't think I can give you a full answer on some of your questions this evening, but I have.
I'd be more than happy to help Danielle with this if she needs it.
She's undergoing training. She's been through 3 sessions already. I think she has 3 more. So she's trying to rectify any issues that she inherited through the Tyler technology system.
Well, it worked in 2021. We were able to balance, but I don't know what's happened since then, but I'm just not sure how you balance with me if you, as a school committee, are approving finance reports without a balance on it. It's just my concern.
Well, we approve them to the best of our knowledge, and that's where that is. We have to put our faith in what's given to us as being accurate and true, and I would assume that the work is being done, and whether a particular number is I don't know, that's a software thing as far as I'm concerned. If it's not being, certain report just isn't generated properly, it's a software training issue. So if that's under work, then I would assume that we can have a proper number at the next meeting.
Yeah, the number that I did state earlier, and it's in your packet, it looks like this. That is an accurate number. Like I said, we're working through some technology issues with Tyler, so that those numbers are all on the same page.
That is, okay. Sorry, these pages are sideways.
Does your number, your running tally sound like what Mr. McCormick just said?
Pretty close. I have a balance of $3,557,1230 in the general fund only. That's the only piece I have.
Yes, I see it here. Yeah, so we have the total 7,020,000, and then yeah, 3.3 million. So it's just a matter of getting the right number out of the software, like delivering the answer that can be transmitted to the town offices. It just wasn't in that last report.
It's in the report that you have. It's not in the report that Mr. Lane's referring to.
Okay. So it's not like the number hasn't been accounted for, it's just that data hasn't been transmitted.
Do we know if that was in prior months too, or is it just, we have to go back and
I
look?
think it was just per the singular request.
Actually, if I go back for the reports that they asked, it was the same case for 23, 24. But I give my information to them to double check, because every warrant you guys sign, that pile of bills, I have to hand key those in, so it's a double check both ways, because I could make an error putting it in, and that's why you balance at the end of the month with all the, and so all the reports are provided to the superintendent's office.
So Danielle is being trained on this program, Tyler, is that what you're calling it?
Right.
Anybody else? Matt?
Matt Grant, 99 Old East Brookfield Road. Going back to the regionalization study, I just had a quick question to see if any of the board, I know this board voted to move it forward to our town for a vote potentially. I know Quabog didn't. I'm just curious on how all that plays out, because we all know this was a super long process. It takes a long time, and if we ever want to revisit it again, it's going to take another several years. Is there any thought of going to Quabog? Because watching their meeting, the questions they had about the report they got were all questions that could be answered. They just, asked them and said, oh, I don't know, and just said, well, we can't bring this to the town, let's vote it down. Is there any thought to going to Quabog, or has it happened? Has anybody talked with the chair there about rekindling it and saying, hey, we can get the answers to this, let's work through this? Because I know, like I said, it was a 4 or 5+ year process, and there was a huge gap of, a year and a half where there was no meetings, and it was in the attorney's hands to write up this, whatever they wrote up, that last report that you guys saw. Is there any thought of talking to Quabog about what their thoughts were and getting them those answers? Because, I just look at it like, for me personally, I think with our town, with the way the budget's going and everything, regionalization, and for our kids, we need to do something. Something different than what we're doing at some point. But where's the direction, I guess?
Well, I think the direction was made. Tim Canada, who will be late to this meeting, was involved directly with that. But based on the fact that they voted that way, is I would say that kind of puts where they stand in relation to whether or not North Brookfield joins with Quabog at all. And if they voted to not even give their own constituents an opportunity to vote on it, as we did, then they kind of dead-ended that.
Yeah.
And I think the gist that I got from that meeting was they were concerned about any financial responsibilities they would be inheriting from us, specifically teachers' contracts and things like that. So
did they ask any more information afterwards, or was it just that meeting?
I think that just kind of killed it.
Yeah, well, because they asked questions, but they didn't really answer their own questions.
No, they kind of left
That's
it.
why I was wondering if there was any follow-up or anything.
But based on their vote,
Yeah.
if they really wanted to, they would have approved it.
Yeah, just to me it seems like...
Because like I said, they kind of killed it.
Yeah.
So if they had left it open to the town being able to vote on it, that would have given more breathing room to answer those questions. And
So I
have
agree with you
more
100%.
dialogue.
That's where I'm going with this, is that I don't know that they truly understood the process.
I felt, if you watch that meeting, they felt like, they looked like they were all set before they walked in.
Well,
on what
it
they
wasn't
wanted,
a- it
and they
wasn't a
didn't want
unanimous
it.
vote, so I mean, there's that. There were people who were.
There
on the
were,
regional-
yep.
What's that?
There were people that did vote,
Yeah, so I mean, I get what you're
6-3 or something like
I
that.
kind of felt like it might have been predetermined as well, just based on things I've heard. But I just think that it's a lot of wasted time. And I'm not blaming anybody here, I'm just saying that it would be nice to know why they wouldn't want to push it to their town and get the answers to those questions, to try to work through some of that financial stuff.
Well, part of it was if, I don't, when we would have meetings, ask to have updates, even up to last year, when Ron was still on,
Yep.
who was also on the
Yeah.
regionalization committee, there were meetings were pushed off over and over and over again. I think this kind of was a long time coming. Sheila?
Yes, Sheila.
Sorry, I'm sorry. That was
Sorry,
Stephanie.
but having served on that committee since 2020, what I got out of the meeting was they didn't think it would be, benefit them financially.
Yeah, and I guess I wish they had just said that in 2020 or 2021 when those initial numbers, projections came out, because we had them back then. I mean, we had some projections, so it's,
Projections, too.
yeah, exactly, right.
And then, given the way the process was drawn out, I don't think COVID helped at all.
Yeah.
And then, I think some of the meetings were put off because of COVID stuff.
Yeah, I think it-
nothing to do with
Maybe
COVID.
not.
It had nothing
I
to do
don't
with
know.
COVID. We lost it.
Anyway, there was a lot of delay, and I feel, given the length of time, I think it was drawn out far too long, given the projections that were originally given, and then gave a lot of time for things to change. in that
Correct, and that's why I'm asking the question about follow-up, like, there's no communication between when that study came out in our board and their board?
Not that I know of.
Okay. I'm just curious, and it just seems like it should have been a conversation that happened, not necessarily from our end, but if they had these questions, they should have.
There were meetings to share all the financial information from all
Correct.
three communities. And there was multiple meetings that they had at Quabog, this is going back maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago,
Yep.
where they did present the financials.
And I was at-
You were at some of them.
Right.
But that's the last time that we had any serious conversation about financials.
So I guess to me, to take a grant of 200, and it's nothing, again, nothing against this board, I'm just saying, to each side, we had a grant of $250,000 to study this. Why did they even wait? Why didn't they just say back then, hey, no?
I don't even know how much of that was actually expended.
I don't know.
Actually, you still have some in that grant fund, but that was held up primarily on the chairman's side. They never asked for really updated figures. The figures we were still looking at were the ones based on the ones the outside contractor did. But that's what they based it on. But I know the chairman, who was their chairman of the school committee, was actually one of the ones that voted in favor of going forward with the regionalization.
I just thought that was the idea, is to get it to the towns to look at, so it just
I
seems
would
like a lot.
have thought that they could have at least let the
Yeah.
townspeople vote.
Agreed, it was rather disappointing, because it was, it would at least presented a separate opportunity, a path, a potential path.
Right.
And I think, it's rather, I don't want to cast aspersions, but I think it should have been put up to the towns for vote, and let the people decide, as opposed to a committee deciding for the people, especially for something of that magnitude. But as for moving forward, again, the way that vote was split, I would say that's a hard no at any regionalization. And any further movement on that would not solve anything in the short term, especially, we're in budget season now. It's not gonna, it would be another, I would say it would be another long process of negotiation.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there's any indication that there's a willingness to revisit any of
And there
that.
might not be, I was just curious to see if they had reached out, or if there was anything outside of that one meeting where they voted it down.
Because I would assume it would have to come up for vote again on their end, and barring any turnover in their committee, of which I'm unaware, I don't see it moving in any other direction other than where it is now, which is a dead end.
All right. That answers that, thank you. So as far as the going forward on our end though, is there, like with enrollment, our enrollment piece and budget, and what's the next step? I know we've been talking about for the last 5 years, well, if regionalization doesn't happen, we have to plan for a standalone school district to budget for that. So is there any, like what's the next step to get enrollment up here?
Well, there are programs underway. We've got at the high school, we're starting a program to gain interest in manufacturing, and I believe next year it's kicking off for the freshmen, so the freshman through senior class. It was advanced manufacturing.
Yeah, we're starting with advanced manufacturing. Innovation Pathways program is where we're starting. So you're going to see from the high school a big push towards STEM programming and Pathways program. So we've done a lot of work this year to start to move that. We actually started last year, so you'll see a big push on that as we move forward. Mr. McCormick's been getting quite a few grants for us to continue that program and move forward.
And so that'll be a draw because it's an opportunity that is not presented in any other districts in the area. I mean, certainly have Bay Path for trades, but this provides a different avenue into manufacturing as opposed to, you know, it's a different skill set.
Yeah.
And it gives them an opportunity to be hands-on in the manufacturing process, not only just, you know, administrative and office type of stuff, but you also get to be on the floor of a manufacturing facility and learn the ins and outs. So that's a completely different path from what you see at Bay Path or other schools in the
We
area.
can't offer anything Bay Path has, right?
Right.
No, and that's why we brought back
Right.
small machines
Which is
repair.
That's great.
And then you have the woodworking shop that's back open. And what we also have, which Bay Path doesn't, is the small size.
Right.
And a lot of kids from this area will go to Bay Path and come back. There are a lot of children that do that because it's a huge place. If you're not used to 200 kids in your class, or upwards of 200 kids in your whole grade, it might be too much, you know? So we can still have some of that personal and very different experience with the small class size.
My understanding is that even if you do get into Bay Path, there's no guarantee that you get the shop that you want.
Right.
So, you know, there's that chance, and some kids bounce back from that because they didn't get placed where they wanted to be placed. And again, the small class size is definitely a draw because some of these bigger schools, it's just, you know, for some kids it's too much, and you know, socially, emotionally, it's not meant for them. And we offer a smaller class size, and people can poo-poo that all they want. Say, oh, it's such a small school. This class is so small. In reality, it's a draw for people, and I think we're seeing a steady growth in that direction, especially given the opportunities that are coming, especially at the high school level.
I would like to ask Dante, what do you feel about the small classes and stuff like that?
I believe that it is better than these other schools because I've always seen it as these other kids that leave and stuff like that, they are going to have a harder time getting the help that they may need. And when it comes time for graduation, you have you're competing more for money towards colleges as well. So it's a better opportunity here rather than going where you're in a class of 200 where you're in like 30 here.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's a great perspective.
Did we miss anything?
No, yes, that was a great job. You make a great PR. But I would just add one thing. We picked up 2 new students, right before break. So we're constantly getting an influx, not a huge influx, but we do see kids coming to our school that want a smaller school from the neighboring schools, not just kids who live in North Brookfield, but students school choicing in just for, like Dante said, because they do want the smaller size. So I know the staff's committed and we're committed and we appreciate the support of the school committee, but you know, Mr. McCormick's done a heck of a job with grants and stuff for us because, you know, finances are tight, but we're planning on growing the school up, that's for sure, so.
Girls basketball teams?
Yeah,
Up and
yeah.
coming.
All right. Any other public participation? Thank you very much, Sheila and Matt. All right, Southern Worcester County Educational Collaborative update. Oh, sorry, I skipped communication. I didn't communications. No. All right. Collaborative update.
So I've attached to your monthly packet, this is the second quarter report for the Southern Worcester County Educational Collaborative, or SWAC. So obviously North Brookfield is a member of this collaborative. This is just an update on what's going on within their schools and their offerings, and they talk about their expenditures and enrollment for those schools and also for those sub-separate classrooms. This is something that they need all their member districts to have inserted, if you will, into the packets on a quarterly basis, just so that you guys are fully aware of what's going on with our collaborative. So it's not a voting item, it's just more information. Any questions about the report?
I don't have anything new.
No, I don't have any questions.
Thank you for that. Student representative report.
Excellence Book and award submissions. At the beginning of the month, we submitted our MASC Excellence Book and we applied for the National Council of Excellence Award. We'll find out about the Excellence Book at our spring conference next week in Hyannis, and we'll find out about the national one later in the spring. Unity Week. Our annual Unity Week took place the week before break. This event was used to enhance our sense of community as a school and to show support for all of our different types of people, from members of the LGBTQ plus community to children with special needs and even just everyone's individuality. And then our upcoming events, we have the MASC Spring Conference at Hyannis from March 6th to the 9th. Actually, I believe it's the 4th to the 7th this year. Spring Conference in April, and social media. We invite all community members to follow our social media accounts to keep up with all MBHS Stuco activities and events. Our accounts are Instagram at MBStuco and Facebook at MBStuco. Student council meetings. All meetings are open to the school and community. Meetings are typically every other Monday in the high school kiva. Please feel free to join us if you have anything you would like to discuss or would just like to see how things are run. Thank you.
Thank you, Dante. Any questions or comments on the representative report?
How many kids go on these?
So in Hyannis, this coming up week, I believe there is around 10. So we can take up around 12. It's a great experience. So 9 through 12, a whole range of students are going. Some is their first time, and then I think some of them, this is going to be their third time going.
If you have an advisor, it goes to, right?
Yes.
2?
1.
Any other questions? Thank you, Dante. Moving on, school committee reports. I don't believe we have anything to report. So moving on to financial reports. We have transfers.
Yeah, there's 2 transfers. The first is requesting approval to transfer the sum of $1,003.15 from the electricity high school to gas high school. The second transfer is for the sum of $9,913.18 from paraprofessional special ed elementary to paraprofessional special ed high school, which I believe you have copies of those 2 transfers.
All right, we have to vote on this, so a motion to approve the transfers of $1,003.15 from electricity to gas at the high school, and $9,913.18 from paraprofessional special ed elementary to paraprofessional special ed high school.
With salary?
Is that a salary?
Yes.
So you moved the person?
No, it was just being paid out of the elementary, which should have been out of the high school.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor of transferring these sums as stated? Aye. Thank you, everyone. Yes, we will. Superintendent's report.
So we'll start with a few updates. I believe I had 6 or 7 to review before we discuss or any questions pertaining to the FY26 budget. As we do every month, we just talk about the new hires and the departures. I would like to just mention on February 6th, myself, Mr. Diorio, and Ms. Malone traveled to Boston for the day. We visited both Boston Collegiate and John D. O'Brien schools in Boston. This was part of the 1/8 Applied Learning Grant that we received back in the fall. And so this grant paid for this trip to Boston for the day to go and watch, or to observe 10 classrooms and to look at what applied learning is. Now, applied learning, in a nutshell, is what we are using. We want to use it with fidelity across the district, but we're using it right now with open-sided classrooms, which are offered to grades 6, 7, 8 here at the middle school, plus our Project Lead the Way courses that are offered at both the elementary and the middle school level. But this workshop really kind of gave us an idea of what we want to see in our classrooms. We want to see that student discourse. We want to see the release from the teacher to the students, where the students are doing the learning. The students aren't just listening to a teacher, that sage on the stage kind of idea that we often see. Not necessarily saying that we see that too much here, but that's something that we see at varied levels across any school district you go to. So this movement, or this work, is around working with our teachers, not only through the 1/8 Foundation, through these great opportunities, but also bringing this back to our district as a whole to show them, to support them with some of these changes. We're also doing this, as I mentioned, through our continued work with Novak Education, and that's our work with UDL. Both schools today had a curriculum hour where they spent the time working on classroom objectives, looking through a UDL lens, and making sure that it was accessible for all students. So that's been a big push, big continued push for next year as well with all of our teaching staff. As I mentioned before, this great opportunity will allow Mr. Diorio and 2 teachers to attend a conference in Denver in April. It's paid for by the grant, and again, it allows one of our leaders and 2 of our teachers to observe in real time some exemplars of what this applied learning concept looks like. So the end game would be bring this back to the district and share out to both schools on what this looks like and how we can support our teachers and our students to get there for more classrooms. Additionally, North Brookfield Public Schools, back last year or over the summer, we received $15,000 as a startup grant, which was for our innovative career pathways. We submitted Part B of the application. We should hear back from the state in March whether we are fully brought onto that program, but we did receive an additional $35,000 to support the durable hardware for those programs. And that's a good sign, because that that means that without putting the cart before the horse, that they are excited about our application and they want to support us in buying some of that expensive equipment that comes with these programs. So this grant will help offset some of the costs at 1/8, and probably the way we'll be funding some of the durable equipment to make sure these classes get off the ground running. On the 13th of February, I attended a legislative luncheon in West Boylston with 20 plus superintendents from the area, where we met with local politicians, state reps, state senators. It was kind of I think it was a snow day for us, or a delay for us, so the attendance was kind of a mixed bag. But we talked about Chapter 70 funding at the state level. We talked about the increased need for special education circuit breaker funding. We talked about small rural schooling and how we need to make sure that we continue to see that grow at the state level. As you may or may not know, the governor's proposed her budget a few weeks ago. Now that process will be ongoing until probably late June before we have a budget for the state. But having the opportunity to talk to our local politicians and have them ask questions about our needs is always beneficial. Because I can talk about kids like Dante and students that are enrolled in our schools currently and what they're facing as challenges, and what our families are facing as challenges, and what we're facing every year as a small rural school district, and the challenges we face financially. So it was a good conversation, and I think that the local reps that did attend walked away with a better sense of what's going on, not only in North Brookfield, but the entire Worcester County. And last but not least, two more things. I've been meeting with my newly kind of rolled out Superintendent Advisory Committee, which I started this year. There's 6 students, 1 middle school student and 5 high school students. We meet once or twice a month to discuss how we can work as a collective group. So 6 students and myself with some issues that are going on across the district. And what we landed on right now with this group is to work on our positive messaging for our elementary school students. We want to really capture that target audience as soon as we can. So what we're planning on doing later this week and early next week is having presentations to our rising 5th and 6th graders. So our students who will be traveling to the high school next year, but students who will be staying over at the elementary school next year as well. So we want to really capture those students as young as we can to talk about the programs, the offerings, the student life here at the junior senior high school. This team has developed a couple presentations that they'll be using for these presentations with our students. And this is just another layer we're trying to add to capturing those kids as they make that 500-yard walk from the elementary school over to middle high school. So that meeting was, we have a meeting tomorrow with that group. And then I sent out a correspondence to families, I believe last Friday, just kind of updating everybody on the snow protocols, the snow calls that you may receive from me. Just to kind of make sure everybody's aware, and like I said earlier in this meeting, we've had a real winter, and kudos to Eric and his team for being so diligent in making sure the school is prepared. But what I try to do is always call off school or delay the night before if I can. So I want to give families as much notice as possible. I know that some of our teachers drive a great distance as well, so that the more notice I can give families and teachers and support staff, the better. I can't always do that, but I like to do that as much as I can. The message will always go out in a couple different ways. Phone call, you'll receive a phone call or automated voice call from the district. You'll receive an email from my SMORE page, which is something that I send out all my notifications through. You'll also be linked with Facebook, and I also call Fox 25, Channel 5, and Channel 7. So those 3 stations will pick up any delay or cancellation the district has. What I also will try to do, to the best of my ability, is if we call a delay, whether it's the night before or the morning of, if the roads are not in great shape, or we need to make a cancellation, I would try to do that by 6:30 a.m. at the latest. So that still gives families hopefully enough time to arrange for someone to watch their children or take a day, whatever they need to do. I know it's not always ideal, but it gives them a couple hours to make those decisions or make those phone calls to support their decisions. So I just wanted to gotta say that out loud. I know I sent that email out, but that's kind of my process, my protocol for when I make a decision. I think we've had 3 days this year, so it's like I said, it's been a real winter as far as snow and snowy roads are concerned. Any questions with any of those quick updates?
So, Miss Maglab is leaving, the student adjustment counselor?
Correct.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you. Do you want to go into administrative reports before we move to budget, or?
It's up to you. I mean, I presented last month,
Right.
and you have all the information. I think it requires a vote to move forward at this point, but
Right.
it's up to you.
Maybe we can just cover that now. So, budget presentation updates. If there's any,
There's no changes at this point regarding what I shared with you last month, and I reshared one of the presentations this month.
so as it stands, the final approved budget for fiscal year '25 was $7,028,605.89, and the current recommended budget for fiscal year '26 is, well, with offsets, $9,763,911.89, and the increase is 17%. This number is still in flux. It's not a final number. Just want to make that clear. There's still ongoing negotiations for teachers' contract. And
Does the teacher contract expire at the end of this school year? It does? So there's no contract yet for next year, right?
currently being negotiated.
That's what I'm just clarifying. Thank you.
But this is the current working number. You know, we have to start somewhere. And so we need
And
to,
the number that would be going to the town would be the 827,837.
right, the recommended budget is $8,227,837.31.
And just for the viewers watching at home, last year's approved budget was higher, but we get those other offsets that cut down the cost by more than $1 million. It's like 1.5 based on this year's budget.
And just for clarification, you know, this was in the last meeting, but the major budget drivers are salaries, special education, and transportation. Transportation's a big one. It's an 11% increase. Again, the salaries for the teachers are under negotiation, but overall, there's a 6.7% increase projected right now. So that's where we stand there. So we need to vote on this. So can I have a motion to approve the budget as presented thus far?
Can I ask a question?
We have to move it forward, then we ask you.
Move first.
To move forward? Okay. And I move forward.
Is that a motion?
Sure.
Say so moved.
So,
There you go.
I said that.
You're a low talker.
Can I have a second, please?
I'll second.
All right. Question?
Yes, I have a particular question. We're adding 2 positions. I'm sure you guys have all talked about this before, but I'm new, so bear with me a little bit. There are 2 positions being added, which goes into the salary account, right? Can you tell me what those positions are?
Sure. That proposal, 2 positions, was for an additional sub-separate teacher and a full-time ABA for that classroom.
We don't have those now.
We do, but this will be an additional classroom.
Classroom, I see.
I had questions about that because I wasn't here for last meeting. How is this going to be different from the other sub-separate class that's already not staffed?
How's it going to be different? Like it's
Yeah, well, how's
it's
it
serving
separate?
a different population of students with different needs.
This was mainly a autism, I think that's what it said,
I
right?
wouldn't label it as just that, but it's a program that's going to look different than the current sub-separate in the elementary school, based on the needs of the students.
And that's elementary school level from K
Yes.
to 5?
Yeah, I mean, it would be it could be K through 5, correct, or K1 through 5.
What was the reason for wanting to do that?
Well, if we have the opportunity to build programs within, even though there's an initial cost to the district, it's keeping those kids in district, it's keeping those kids closer to home, and it's also a short and long-term savings overall for the district. If down the road we had to send those students out to a placement, you're talking per student, it's the cost of a teacher and an ABA. So if that were to happen, it could be a significant savings to the district.
So you have students in mind that would be in that?
Yeah, no, this isn't just something where we would plan on a whim. This is for students that we know will need additional supports at some point in their elementary and high school career. When we look at our special education numbers, specifically our district placements, it is always with students in mind. It's not, we don't add numbers to add any padding to those numbers. Those are based on who we know right now. And that's the tricky part, is that if a student moves into the district that we didn't account for, we have to find funding for that student.
And again, with the rising cost of transportation, paying to transport another student out of district is more cost for the town, and being able to retain that student in district, again, will be a savings over,
Well, out-of-district schooling is
yeah.
very high
Yeah,
compared to.
then we're at the
public
mercy of
transportation.
whatever that school's charging for that particular placement.
Well, just look at the percentage of the school's overall budget that is out of district special ed placements right now. For a small district, it's a big impact on the overall budget.
Yes.
Almost a third.
Do you think that adding those positions or adding those services would allow kids from other towns to come? and
That's a
take
great
advantage of
question,
that
and that's something that
to offset some costs?
if this program takes off, potentially, and yes, it could be something down the road that we could bring students from other districts in. I'll give you a perfect example. We received an email a few weeks ago from the superintendent of the Quabbin Public Schools, who they have some programs that they're trying to fill within their district, and they've reached out to surrounding towns if they have students that we could potentially send there. And you know, it's a great conversation to have, because they can do that. They can support our students potentially at a lower cost than what a collaborative would charge. So potentially, to answer your question, down the road, if this is successful and viable, we could do the same thing. We could pull kids in from the surrounding districts and essentially tuition them into our district to offset the cost of the salaries and the cost of the supports for those kids.
Recruiting.
I wouldn't necessarily call it that, but if it does take hold, we could send out feelers to neighboring districts for this.
How many spaces will there be in that classroom?
Right now, I mean, we're talking single digits, but you know that could grow based on need.
So of the $358,000 increase in salaries, how much is for those 2 spots?
That's about $100,000 for those two, based on what we project as the level of expertise for that teacher and then the cost of an ABA.
The idea is to have someone hired that's experienced and not just, you know, fresh face.
Yes, in a program like this, you need someone who has, you know, obviously the training and the experience to know how to support these students and to run the room. I mean, there's staff that report to this particular teacher as well, so we want to make sure that they have those skills.
You're likely to need more than one assistant in that classroom with the type of child you're talking about.
Maybe, maybe not. Based on how we can cycle some of our other paras through classrooms, we may be able to do that to start. And if the program grows in size, then we have to look at additional staffing.
Any other questions or comments about the budget?
Well, to be clear for the viewers at home, this vote moves this on to the next step, in which case now I'd invited the finance committee tonight, but I don't think that was able to happen. But now there's a lot of finance committee meetings and conversations with the Board of Selectmen. So what we're voting on tonight is to move this to the town in general. And we'll probably have to re-vote again on a finalized number once those conversations have ended. And also, as in previous budget years, like Mr. McCormick mentioned with the state budgets and things like that, there's a lot of numbers that are in flux that will change over the course of the budget season. So what we're voting is this is an acknowledgement that this is what the school is looking for next year's programs, and we will revisit the final number and discuss what the actual impact is to the programs at a later date once more of these numbers that we don't have the same amount of control over are determined.
Question from Matt Grant.
Could you clarify, you mentioned out-of-district special ed costs and what's the projected amount for next year? Just a dollar amount. I think it would help for people to understand that that's an amount we have to pay. There's no ifs, ands, or buts.
We have, all right, so we have out-of-district placement currently budgeted for 4 students. This is between collaborative, private day, and residential. Total number of students is 15. For 15 students for this year, $1,797,939.30. There's a projected decrease from this year to next year of $50,000, $50,051.61. It's 2.78% decrease, which is minuscule in that number. So for 15 students, almost $1.75 million, $1.8 million basically this year.
So when people online say, hey, we should just be better at spending money, that's a 1.75. We can't.
Yeah, this is
I just want to make that clear.
Yeah,
for the
this is
general public.
a great point, and it's you know, people act like the school's just burning money, and we are obligated legally, morally, ethically to support these students, and this is how they need to be supported. And this is just the number assigned. And again, because of changes by the state for out-of-district placement, these other collaboratives, schools, they were allowed to increase the tuitions. What was the percentage?
2 years ago was 14%, and then with 6% this year, the projection for next year is 4% increase.
Correct, it's kind of dropping off, but that 14% really took a hit. So, you know, this is a big part of the budget. You know, out of $7 million, you're talking, you know, $1.8 million directly going to 15 students. And again, being able to keep some students within the district would certainly offset some of this cost. And I think it's a great goal to move towards.
Well,
I want to add something.
go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I want to be able to say this publicly because there have been people that have come forward that have said, why can't we just take a tiny bit of that budget and pay a great teacher and have our own program so these children don't have to go out of district? And it's very important for people to realize who don't know the population of these type of students, who I do, because one of my children is one of these students, that it's not a matter of just hiring the right staff or having the right environment for them. It's a whole group, it's a whole set of skill sets. It's also having the consistency of that program, knowing that type of child needs, where you can hire somebody that could be great, and then if that person leaves, now that child doesn't have the proper supports anymore. Can you get somebody who is equally skilled? And I've been through this myself with my own child, where we had a great teacher and then that teacher left and the next teacher wasn't able to keep him at the status and the level that he should be at so that he can excel. So if people need to realize that it's not just about, you know, one little special need or some help in reading, it's a huge picture of the support that these type of children need if they have to be out of district. It's a huge undertaking. It's a lot for the IEP team to figure out, as a whole team of the school, all the professionals, the parents, and everybody to realize that this child just can't be serviced in a typical public school environment. And so while it seems like an easy fix, just make an environment here for them, it's not. It's not an easy fix.
You made a good point at the end there. I was gonna say it's not a simple decision and a quick movement for a student to go to a different program like this. The school, it's years, sometimes takes years of professionals
Sometimes takes a lot of money.
and working with the families and with the student and with the other members of the community in the school community to figure out where the best fit is for them in this environment. It's not taken lightly. It's not something that is a quick process, but it's something that over time has been decided to be the best option for these students to get the education that, as John said, we as a town are morally and legally required to provide them until
John also said ethically, which I liked too.
ethically.
Thank you for the clarification. I kind of knew the answer. I just wanted to broadcast it out because I think there's a huge misconception going on right now, led by a couple of people online. I think we all know who we're talking about. But it's just, when I was on the school board, there wasn't much meat on the bone on the budget.
No.
We were paying for everything we had to, and that was about it. So I'm guessing it's similar now, and I just don't think a lot of the town understands that. I mean, they say let's slash teachers, let's fire certain teachers. It doesn't work that way.
It's easy to be a keyboard warrior. It's
Right.
easy to spout off, but without actually being in the weeds and seeing what's going on, seeing the hard work that's being done by the teachers and staff, it's not. You can't just say, oh, we'll condense these classes or we'll remove this teacher. It's not. That's not the fix. We're already, like, people think we're burning money here, and we're not. There's very little. Like, you look at some of these line items, and it's tiny, the amount of money that's allocated to some of these departments over the course of a year, and it's almost laughable compared to other districts. Or you think something is important, and it gets such a small number assigned to it.
Well, we've talked about it for years too. There's not a contingency included in this.
Right.
There's Eric's here. He's got his budget in there. If something big breaks It's not in there. It's a different conversation we have to have.
Right.
So it's a lean budget, and to your point, Matt, we're talking about not a lot of meat on the bone. There's conversations about grants and things, and grants, not grant. So the grant conversation is the school adding these programs that you guys were talking about earlier without affecting the bottom line of the budget. They're working with what they have, and then that extra money that comes in helps to enhance the environment as it is, and make the school more appealing, and to reward the students who are here, like Dante. You know, he's sticking with the school and deserves the finest education we can provide him.
Right, and I think it does the current student population disservice to speak, to belittle the district and to undercut the efforts that are being made here to make this a thriving and successful district. And again, casting aspersions is not the way to move forward or to support the schools. It's part of the town, and by undercutting the schools, you're undercutting the town at large. And I don't think that's fair
And what a message
for
to
either.
the students. I just feel it's a sad message to the students.
Yeah, again, that's why I try to speak highly of what's going on here, because I do speak with the administrators. I try to speak with people when given the opportunity, and they're working hard. And people can spout off online and say whatever they want, but it does not reflect the efforts being made in the district to make this a successful school district. End of statement. Any other comments or questions about the budget as presented? All right. All in favor of approving the budget as noted, be sent on for further discussion and revision?
Aye.
Aye. All right. North Brookfield High School Class of 2025 graduation requirement discussion.
Okay, so this is a new talking item for this month's packet. If you recall, back in November, December, question 2 was on the ballot. If you voted, you probably voted on this question. What this question essentially said was that if it was to either keep MCAS as a competency determination or not. And what that means is it's a requirement for students to pass the ELA, math, and science MCAS examinations in order to graduate, in order to receive a diploma. What happened, the vote, it was voted down overwhelmingly that they are erasing MCAS as a CD. That does not mean that MCAS is going away. MCAS will still be administered for students in elementary and middle and high school. But like I said, it will not be used, either the test or the retest, as a graduation requirement moving forward. Students who took the test, who are seniors this year, and they did not meet the CD requirements, if you will, basically the law is now stating is that each individual school district has to come up with a way to make sure that these students are progressing and these students are demonstrating mastery of skill. And that can look different ways for different districts. So what this is it's initial conversation this evening. I put together a brief memo, and this is really around our class of 2025 students. We looked at, myself, Mr. Diorio, school council, we looked at our student population, our graduating seniors, and there's nobody right now who would need additional remediation as far as, who did not pass the examination, who would not graduate. So that's a good thing. But what we also need to do is look at our policies for after this year, for FY 26 and beyond. And what are we doing to support those students when the test is no longer that CD? So what I did was I attached in this memo, I attached our current credit requirements for our core subjects: English, social studies, math, science, world language, fine arts, phys ed, and electives. And I also broke down what we require for graduation requirements for credits per year in total. We also have currently a community service requirement that students have to complete 30 hours both their junior and senior year, which is tracked internally. But what this is really to start the conversation around this determination moving forward. Like I said, I think this will not impact anybody in our current senior class. It will not impact anybody in our current senior class, but we need to look at what we are doing to support these students after this year. And what I intend to do with the help of Mr. Diorio and teachers and school counselor is to come back with a proposal for FY26 and beyond to look at what we can do to support those students who are currently students, who are underclassmen, who did not pass the MCAS for one of those 3 core subjects, what we can do, what we need to do to make sure that they earn their diploma.
How is this different from last year?
So last year you had to, like I said,
Yeah, well, without that standard, I mean, sorry.
the policy that I outlined in this memo hasn't changed as far
Okay.
as the credit requirements. That has not changed. But without the MCAS requirement, like I said, you need to support those students, whether it means they have to retake or make sure they pass. And the language has changed, and that's where we need to really kind of dissect this. It used to be proficiency, now it's mastery. How do you define mastery, right? Is that a C or better? So there's a lot of gray areas, and I will tell you that the state has done a lot of webinars around this, but they haven't given us a clear answer. They're really pushing it back to the individual districts to make these determinations. There are a few districts who are readopting, if you will, MCAS as a requirement. Most districts are not. But with that being said, it still, like I said, leaves us with this area that we have to figure it out. And we have to do what's best for our current students and what's best for our students moving forward to make sure they are ready for college and career. We don't want to, I think when this was voted it down, if you will, the state didn't have a plan in place to fall back on. And I think the way it happened very quickly up until the vote, and there was a lot of back and forth between the two sides, for and against, but there wasn't a contingency plan from the state. If this doesn't get voted out, gets voted down, what are we going to do? So now it's on the districts to figure that out.
So I have a question. I just want to make sure that I'm clear. If the student didn't get all the credits that they needed to attain, they needed credits and the MCAS passing, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So if a student does not transition from grade to grade with the appropriate credits, they have to retake courses if they fail those courses. There's options to retake courses outside the school year, for example. And we do have students who do that. They have to double up on certain classes in order to graduate. There is language around, I think it's 5 or 10 credits, Mr. Dorio, that you may walk, but you still have to earn those credits in order to fully earn your diploma. So you may walk at graduation with your peers, but you don't earn that diploma until you finish that last, I believe it's last course. But the credit requirement has not gone away.
And it was always there.
Yes. That's not new.
Yeah, it didn't seem, I know.
Dropping
I
MCAS
graduated
as a
Massachusetts, so.
competency determination is the new piece here.
Like I'd say, when I graduated, there was no standardized test you had to
No.
pass. It was, did you make your credits?
Yeah.
How did you score your finals? That was,
Yeah. Okay.
that was the metric back then. So, yeah.
The core subject matter or by grade hasn't changed, right? So that's all still required to be at least proficient. So you mentioned mastery, but at least proficient. So we need something in place to measure that somebody has not just attained the grade for the credits, but acquired the skills that the state has said that all the kids need to have by a certain age.
Isn't the grade itself a reflection of whether or not they've mastered?
Not necessarily.
I mean,
There are teachers that you can do anything you want. I'm not trying to disparage teachers, but a grade isn't always a great reflection. A kid can miss a lot of class, for instance, and his grade is affected because he missed a lot of class, but he maybe conquers whatever the subject is, but that's not reflected in that grade. It could be the other way as well, where maybe a kid does a lot of extra credit and he brings that grade up. There's all kinds of ways that you'd like to think that the grade is a true reflection of what they get, but if that class doesn't follow the subject as identified by the state, then it's not exactly true that they've mastered it.
With the final exam, take care of that.
If the final exam follows at least within a certain percent of the grade at the end of what they were supposed to get.
I just think it's kind of...
It's not an easy thing.
This
Right,
is coming from
but-
a former teacher, so.
But I just think it's kind of wild that, you know, we went for years without a standardized test being part of the requirement, and kids graduated and went on to college and were successful. Then suddenly this is in place, and now that it's no longer a requirement, because I think the big concern is whether or not standardized testing is great for every kid, and whether or not the results of that standardized test actually reflect the student's capabilities.
Right.
I think that's been recognized over time, is that standardized testing does not work for every student as a metric. And I think that's a big reason why this vote happened, was people recognize standardized testing as the end-all be-all. So to make it a requirement for graduation, I think a lot of people saw it as an unfair hurdle for certain students.
Right.
So is it that difficult to unravel this one requirement and go back to previous standards that were perfectly acceptable for decades?
Well, one of the good things about, I'll just bring up the other side of the point of view, is that one of the good things about MCAS is it followed the standards by grade. So the MCAS tested the kid on the standards. If they did well on the test, then they mastered the standard and moved on. One of the benefits of that is, you know, that a kid in North Brookfield is learning the same standards as a kid in Newton or Wellesley or Northampton or wherever. We're all measured the same way, so that when you're applying for college, everybody's got the same base to build on. And it ends at 10th grade, so that you have time to build in the other classes that you'd like to get, whether it's more math or more English or more music or whatever it is. And there were also a lot of fail-safes that were built in after 10th grade, where the kids could take the test until they passed. And if, you know, special ed kids that have accommodations, small group setting, reading the test to them, ascribed, write their answers down. And at the very worst case, if a kid just can't do it, then the special ed teacher can provide a portfolio and submit that, and the kid will be able to advance. So there were a lot of fail-safes there.
But again, the test isn't going away. It just wouldn't be held as a final step for graduation.
I think what Mr. McCormick said is it could be. You could still do it if the district decides that MCAS can still be in place. It can be a measuring stick. It's not the one and only, but it can be a measuring stick as to what they've had. So they've made sure the standards have been taught. That's just an example.
Well, again, to be fair, I think it would be worth looking at what percentage of people in our town voted to support or vote against having the test be a standard. And I think it would be incumbent upon us to take that into consideration for deciding to keep it as a standard or as a requirement.
Keep in mind, we are trying to lure kids back in here.
Yeah, there you go. I was thinking about that too.
Come to North Brookfield, the MCAS.
Yeah. How did you decide, who was it that made the decision as a team to maintain that you don't need, what was voted on and not have the MCAS as a determining factor for graduation?
Can you restate that, the question?
Who was on the team? You
It
said
was-
you decided not to have the MCAS, so who was
Well, I
on
didn't
the
know.
team?
I mean, the proposal, the conversation we're having tonight is that we don't have any student that requires for us to do any remediation because they are not in good standing with the MCAS. That's for this graduating class. After this year, we have some students who are currently enrolled that would need to either retake the test to graduate or, but again, that's not an option. I think, I don't have the results handy, but I did see the results at one point. I think North Brookfield overwhelmingly voted against retaining the MCAS as a graduation requirement. So I'm not necessarily proposing that that's what we do at all. I'm not saying that. I have my own personal views on this. I think that we need to make sure that I would love to see at some point the state come up with a universal plan for all the districts to have some sort of high stakes accountability for all students. Because when you leave it to individual districts, it can look different within 5 miles of each other, and that can be troublesome. The test, if you recall, has been changed over the last 4 to 5 years, where it's more critically thinking based. So it's a different test than when it was first rolled out. And I know there was a lot of opponents to the original test. It kind of became antiquated very quickly. The newer version, even though maybe more challenging initially, showed kind of a deficit for some of our students with their critical thinking skills. And I think if we don't have this as an accountability measure, we need to make sure that those students are receiving those skills, are learning those skills as they progress through middle school and high school. So again, I'm not proposing anything, this is just kind of facts, presenting where we're at right now. I think what I would like to do is for next meeting, have a proposal for FY26 and beyond. That we come up with a couple different scenarios potentially, but that would need to be voted on by the school committee. This was just informational, just to remind everybody that this question was voted into law, that MCAS is no longer a requirement for a diploma. So what are we doing to support those students who did not pass that exam? And like I said, we have nobody in the current graduating class who fall into that bucket, if you will. But after this year, we will have students who do. So what we need to do for those students.
All right.
Hope that clarified or answered your question.
Yeah, again, maybe I'm just old, but the high stakes for me was getting the grade, trying to get the A in the class. That was the high stakes. But it was a different time. Not that old. Pretty old. I'm older than I've ever been.
Not till tomorrow.
He's ever been. He loves the dad jokes. Find that out about John.
All right, administrators' reports. Who wants to go first?
All right, I'll go first. So on Friday, February 7th, we celebrated senior night for our boys basketball team and dedicated a 1,000-point banner for Jose Rivera. Jose graduated from North Brookfield High School last year and scored over 1,000 points in his basketball career. He's currently one of our success stories. He attends Assumption College as a finance major. And I just want to say congratulations to Jose. That was quite an accomplishment. On Friday, February 14th, we celebrated our middle school student awards ceremony. Students were given awards for attendance, academic excellence, and overall growth. And it was great to see families show up to this event. We invited families. We had a pretty good crowd on hand, so that was great. And I want to say congratulations to all our middle school award winners. Today and Thursday, Hope Brzezinski from the District Attorney's Office is speaking to our high school students in grades 9 through 12 about healthy relationships and preventing teen violence. Then on Friday, February 28th, all the girls will go to the gym for a dating and positive relationships workshop presented by the Vanessa T. Marcotte Foundation. Part of this program is going to feature a self-defense class for the girls. Our boys will go to the North Brookfield Elementary School auditorium, and we'll have a keynote speaker for them. Also a little talk from the district attorney. And then they will also be discussing the legal ramifications around dating violence and positive and healthy relationships. On February 26th, our juniors and seniors were scheduled to go to FlexCon as part of our Innovative Pathways program that we just talked about. That date has been changed one more time to Thursday, February 27th. So this week we'll be going to FlexCon as part of that Pathways program. It was originally scheduled for the beginning of the month, but due to a couple snow days, we've changed the date. This is the third time now, so we're excited to get this going. This is the second year of our program, and our students will have an opportunity to apply for a paid internship at FlexCon and earn a full-time job after graduation. Last year we had 4 or 5 students take advantage of that program. Again, our second annual career fair will be March 11th. We have over 25 different companies and speakers coming to talk to our students about different career opportunities. Students will receive information about different careers that they're interested in. And it's a great opportunity for our students to prepare for their future and learn why school is important. Our first STEAM night is on March 25th at 6 p.m., so I hope you can all come. STEAM education is a teaching method that combines science, technology, engineering, the arts, and math to help students learn and solve problems. Again, that's part of our program to grow our high school. It's designed to give students a well-rounded education that includes practical skills and critical thinking. STEAM gives students an opportunity to engage in experimental learning, persistent problem solving, embrace collaboration, and work through creative process. Students will be providing presentations about their projects and learning around these areas. Finally, 20 of our high school students will be continuing our work around fostering a sense of belonging at a workshop with Mass Ideas. Mass Ideas support schools and educators in developing practices to ensure that all students receive the proper support and resources to succeed academically and thrive socially and emotionally. This will also be part of the program that will go down, and they'll talk to our elementary students as well. We do have the 2 dates. I just found them today. We just finalized our 2 dates. They'll be March 25th and April 15th. There'll be 2 3-hour workshops that about 20 of our students will go through. They also went through this last year, so this is part 2 of that program, and the students are excited about that as well. And that is my report for tonight.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
That STEAM night sounds like a big night. Is that going to be, besides on this, is that going to be publicized? We'll get the newspapers here? Or
Yeah, we're going to try
whatever,
to. Yeah,
build it up. I mean, we were just talking about building good feelings about the school earlier, so that might be a big opportunity to bring the public in and all that.
Yeah, that's great. We work with Kevin in the newspaper, and so he's going to put in our call for us. Mr. McCormick puts it on in his district-wide newsletter, because it's not just for high school students and their families, it's for the entire district. We hope we see a lot of elementary school families here as well. But yeah, we're going to try to promote that as much as possible. And we're also going to have refreshments and food there. We find that helps bring our crowd too. So, but in all honesty, to your point, it's going to be a great night, and really excited to show off. We have a fantastic STEM teacher here with us, and we're going to show off. He's planning on building a robot. We won't have it done by that night, but he's going to talk about the prototype and things like that. So there's some pretty cool stuff going on here.
Thank you.
Is this the first year for this dating violence and a healthy relationship?
It is, yeah. We did something similar. We called it a celebration of learning last year, back in January of last year. This is going to be geared more towards the STEAM approach, because along with the Innovative Pathways program that we have the grants for, this is part of that program that we're excited about that. And we really, sorry, I could talk all night, so I'll try to limit, but we really, this is going to be our niche, and to the audience, I don't remember the gentleman's name out there, but trying to attract students to our school. This STEAM program that we are going to start is going to be unlike things that are done in other schools, and we're really hoping that this is going to draw more kids into our school from other districts who want to be part of this program and part of that Innovative Pathways program as well.
Tanya, just to quickly, I know you were asking about the relationship. We have done that with the DA's office. So
Oh,
we've been doing
okay.
that for 3 years now. So
Okay.
Hope has done it, that presentation or similar ones with our middle school and high school students. This year, we're adding a different layer to that, where we're having some conversation with the boys as well. We're splitting it up into 2 different groups. So it's been well received in the past, and we're hoping that this addition will make it even better.
All right. Sounds like good stuff.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Yorio. Mr. Murphy?
Sure. I know Mr. McCormick already mentioned it, but we had our Camp Read-A-Lot annual event on February 14th, which was the Friday before February break. The entire day was dedicated to celebrating reading as a school. We had 8 stations that each of our classrooms rotated throughout the day. There was bookmark making, jump rope for reading in the gym, campfire reading in tents, which I provided a picture for. It's hard to see because it was obviously campfire and it was dark. Read with a buddy, so there's also a picture. Those are 2 4th graders with a preschooler. So in our Bell area, older students got paired up with some of our younger students and they actually read books to them, which is fantastic. We had our firefighters and as guest readers with books on safety, stop, drop, and roll, ice safety, about going out on the ice in the winter. We had book bingo, stories through crafts, and always with some food. We had the PTO donated pancakes in the cafeteria, so reading makes you hungry. So we had a station. Again, our PTO is fantastic. I feel like any event that we have, which I'll talk about another one later on, but our PTO does great work with providing great experiences for our kids, and they just show up for everything, which is great. So thank you to all the staff and volunteers that made this a special day, and to Clementine McNamara for organizing the event. It was a great event. Next, we had a presentation on identifying trauma in the classroom. So Tova Margolis, the adjustment counselor here at the high school, did a presentation on identifying trauma in the classroom for our staff in February. The objective for the staff was to understand how trauma impacts the brain and development, and then to learn strategies for creating trauma-informed classrooms. Research shows that teachers are one of the most important relationships in students' lives after parents and guardians. Ms. Margolis and the staff discussed attachment theory, adverse community environments, adverse childhood experience, trauma-informed perspectives, and other very important information. Teaching is hard work, but it can be made easier if we use a trauma-informed lens. So this does not mean we lower expectations in the classroom or remove accountability. It just means that we can proactively plan to respond to situations with students taking into account the whole child. So a great job by Tova, and thank you to Mr. Diorio for letting us borrow Tova for the day and the afternoon. It was a great presentation by her. And then last but not least, we had our first ever, that I know about, Glow Dance in February. So the PTO hosted an annual February dance, and this time we went with the Glow Dance. And it was February 7th from 6 to 8 in the elementary school cafeteria. Close to a third of our students. So when you're talking about an event that late at night on a Friday night in February where a lot of families are busy, that was a huge turnout for us, which was very exciting. There were students from pre-K to 5th grade enjoying the glowing environment, music and photo booths. All students needed to be accompanied by an adult. So we had a lot of parents and adults enjoying the glow environment and the music. And it was a great night. So we had smiles on our students and parents. We're all around the cafeteria and the main hallways. And again, thank you to the PTO and DJ Dan Rando for creating the exciting and safe and fun night for our students. Again, creating something in town for our students to go to at night where they can feel safe to kind of let their hair down and have fun. It was an amazing night, and hopefully we'll have some more of those soon.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. If you missed it, you missed me. I may or may not have been cutting the proverbial
Yeah.
my daughter. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Kids had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Ms. Emery?
I'll go next. I didn't have fun, exciting glow dance, disco ball dances, but
Have to
I'll
come up
go
with
next. I'll
something
try.
soon,
I'll try to
maybe.
follow. Sometimes it's always hard. I think I'm gonna have to go in front of Mr. Murphy next time. So just a short couple of updates. The access and alternate access testing for our English language learners was completed this past week. I would like to acknowledge the hard work of our ELL teacher, Ms. LaChapelle, to ensure this testing was completed successfully, as well as the teachers really for their flexibility and support throughout the process. This assessment provides important information regarding our ELL students' progress and programmatic needs. As part of the preparation for DESE's review of the district's English learner education program that's coming up during the 25-26 school year, I participated in another training session held by DESE, which provided an introductory overview of the EL data dashboard. This webinar introduced the various features of the dashboard, such as access score trends, which districts can use as part of their self-assessment review process. It was actually quite informative. DESE staff from the Office of Language Acquisition will be available to answer questions during the dashboard as districts have an opportunity to explore its features over the next few months. So I think it will be very helpful as we participate in our self-assessment.
Is this for students where English is not their first language?
Yes, correct.
And how many students, like percentage-wise?
We have about right around 20-21 students.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments about student services? Thank you very much. Let's see. Old business? Any old business? Yeah.
We have,
Oh,
well,
wait,
facilities
sorry.
and technology. is
Sorry,
right
go on. Didn't scroll down far enough. Facilities update. Do you want to say anything, or do you want to just
Yeah.
some key points?
February update for facilities. The elementary school continued to manage the day-to-day operations of the school. During February vacation, the custodians were focusing on doing some deep cleaning in the restrooms and also some high point cleaning on, your high touch points, doors, door handles, that type of stuff. We worked on the 4th grade restrooms. We had some repairs that we needed to do in the restrooms. We patched up some walls and put some new paint on it. Also painted up the baseboards. Also worked on a Title I office. We repainted and patched up the walls there, and also painted the baseboards. The month of February, we had 33 scheduled events, which equates to about 10 different vendors that use various parts of the school at the elementary school. That could be anywhere from, the theater guild using it multiple times throughout the month, basketball, that type of stuff. I continue to work with Snyder Electric on the building management system that we've installed. Working closely with them to get the updates done and work on any issues that we have with the heating system. And that's both here at the high school and at the elementary school. Today, over the last couple storms we had some power outages. And we had an issue at both schools. The elementary school, our problem was that when we lost power, the transfer switch was not getting kicked on, which would then turn power on limited power into the building, so that would illuminate your exit signs and stuff like that. We found out that we had a faulty voltage regulator that we replaced today and got that up and running. So that shouldn't be a problem anymore. At the high school, again, managed the day-to-day operations. Over February vacation, we did some deep cleaning in the restrooms and some of the classrooms. We also started repairs on the locker room floors. And they're ceramic tiles, 2-inch by 2-inch tiles. And the hope was, when we first looked at them, some of them are buckled. So the hope was to just be able to deal with those ones that were buckled. Well, it ended up being a little bit more of a project once you start getting into it, because it creates a domino effect. You start taking out a little bit of the tile, and then next thing you know, you're up to a 3 by 3 foot square area of tile that you end up taking out. So we were hoping to make some good progress on it over the vacation week, but with some of the snow removal and some of the other projects, we didn't get into it until late. So that's going to be an ongoing project that we do from now till we finish it. Month of February for scheduled events, we had 6 scheduled events, which was approximately 3 vendors that would use various areas of the school. Again, working with Snyder Electric, they were in over vacation, and we worked on troubleshooting some of the heating problems in the school, and we're going to continue to do that until we can get to a place where we're comfortable with the heating system. January 21st, this is part of an update that I gave last month. We had problems with the generator out here in the back. There was, when we lost power, the generator would start up, but then would conk out, so we weren't able to maintain emergency lighting and generator power to the school unless we manually overrode it. So we had service come out and we identified some stuff that we needed to have fixed. They've since been out over vacation and has made the updates to that. So now we'll monitor the generator process and make sure that it continues to work. This being the emergency shelter for the town, we need to make sure that that is up and running and is reliable. So we'll continue to monitor that. I also, we had a problem with the sound system down in the gymnasium where we could not, over the years, I guess it's just wear and tear on the system, where all the knobs and different controls were very finicky and just were not working the way that they should work. So I looked at trying to troubleshoot some of the electronics there, and just for somebody to come in and just start trying to fix one problem, not knowing what the whole problems are, it was more cost efficient, more cost effective to bypass that system and go and just create a new system altogether. So we have all the functionality of what we had in the past, which was the intercom system, wireless microphones, floor microphones, and there was one other thing that that escapes me. So we were able to upgrade that for about $450. So that worked. The microphone system, we have up to 3 mics, wireless microphones that we can use at once. So if somebody's doing the national anthem and somebody's doing announcements, you don't have to keep running, handing off a microphone. Now we have up to 3 mics that can be used. District-wide, we had a couple of snowstorms that we had to deal with. This recent one was pretty nasty, even though, you know, we had quite a bit of snow, but the problem was you had freezing rain and a lot of rain coming in, which froze pretty quickly. So I thank the custodians for their help and dedication out there in the weather, getting the school cleaned up in a timely manner. I'm working on capital improvement projects. Right now I am outlining several paving projects around the school. There's the main entrance coming in, which is 10 New School Drive. There's the exit road going out as another project. And then the parent pickup driveway right outside of the elementary school as another. Also the roadway going around parallel with the Ocam Road. I have that listed as a paving project. And then also in the back of the school by the playground, going from Ocam Road down to the basketball hoop area as another project. So I have to, I got to go through, get all the measurements and get quotes for that, and I got to get all that documented so that at some point I will present that to the capital improvement committee in town, and then start having the discussions and getting it on the list of projects to hopefully get funded down the road at some point in time. But if we don't get it on the list, then, you know, the town does not know about it until it gets on that list. So my goal is to get these things documented, get them on the list so people know about it. And then hopefully, if money becomes available and it gets prioritized in such a way that it helps us out, then, you know, that'll work in our favor. So, and that's all I have.
For the floors in the bathrooms, are you trying to repair it so it's like it is now, or do you have a different system that you're putting in?
We're using, yeah, we're gonna replace, we're pulling up the tile, and then we're going to re-cement the tile down and re-grout it. So we're using stuff that we already have in place.
So there's material to fill in tile that's missing, or what are you using? In some areas we're missing a few tiles here and there. There's been repairs in the past where they've just filled in whatever tiles were missing. They put in some type of mortar or hydraulic cement to fill in, so it's level. But the stuff that I'm dealing with, everything that I'm pulling up, I'm going to be reusing. So we'll clean that all up, get it reset, and then re-grout it. I know there's another inspection item, which was the sidewalks. Is that
That's
that'll be a
still in
separate?
play. I'm in the process of, I'm waiting on the quotes to come in. What I planning on doing, I'm splitting the project up. Depending on what the quotes come in at, a portion of it I will be able to fund this year, that's my hope. And then, so that, my quote is for the sidewalks in front of the elementary school as one quote, and then the second quote is all the sidewalk here on the high school. So depending on how much they come in at, well, I'll make a decision on which one I want to go with. How much, what am I going to cover for the amount of money that it costs?
And I assume that's prioritized as a safety issue, right?
But that's the goal, is to try to get it done by end of this year, this budget year. So that would be, any time from spring to June. And then when I get my new budget, I will look at, where we stand with the second quote.
Last item is a technology update from Zachary Barrage, our technology coordinator. Second quarter report cards are sent out by Alma. Due to improved communication, this went smoother than previous semesters. A license has been procured for a wireless access point network, making it possible to replace 2 defective or misconfigured units in the elementary school. The power outages revealed some weaknesses in the infrastructure. One of the network switches was damaged, so it showed that our backup power supplies are not working as expected, likely due to their extreme age, 16 years for the 2 oldest and 9 for the newest. Quotes have been received for replacement switch, and replacement backup power supply is being investigated. And lastly, state reporting is completed, which is a new responsibility for the technology coordinator. Required extensive updating of the data in the system, and it was a multi-week process. And with help from the tech at Alma, it should be simpler going forward with the data corrections that have been performed. So it sounds like some streamlining taking place. And then, I believe this is part of a separate new business. All right, so I think that's it for the administrator's reports. No old business, and I don't think there's any policy update.
No, not at this time.
So new business, we have the North Brookfield Elementary Library surplus books.
So what you have in your packet is a report from Kelly Adamitis, who is the media specialist at the elementary school. Starting last year, she was tasked with looking at the entire inventory of the library. And what she found, which wasn't surprising, was a lot of the books were old, were beat up, were in rough condition, were very damaged. So I did not add this to the packet, but this is the list, and I can pass this around. This is the list of the 600 books that were not either usable, readable, could not be salvaged. But the 600 that potentially would be going out, she's replaced with 800 books. So there's books that are coming in that she's waiting to put, some of those even on the shelves now, just waiting for the room when we move some of these books. But anytime we surplus old equipment, per se, we have to have a vote from the school committee to support that.
Do we have a list of the new books? Or just
I
the old
can
books?
get you the list of the new books too.
Okay.
And that's actually, I have that on my desk, it's a separate new pile of things that were vetted by Ms. Priestley and Mr. Murphy and Ms. Adamitis. So they're all age appropriate, but a lot of them are newer editions of the books that we're replacing. So that is just a complete list of the 600 titles that we're looking to do something with. Some of them, I don't know the exact number off the top of my head, some of those can be donated and will be donated, but a lot of them just need to be recycled at this point.
For the record, this is a 102 pages, double-sided.
Yes.
Extensive list. Are you on a speed reader?
Yeah. Did take that class in high school. too.
So the point of this, we have to vote on her being able to dispose of these books as she sees fit. And I believe the proposal is that some of these go to the art department to be
Yes.
repurposed for other
So-
projects.
Some teachers, and Mr. Martinez has expressed interest in recycling some of these for our projects, so I don't know if there's a number there, but there is a small amount that will be used by the art department.
Yeah,
It's referred to as the main pile, which is,
yeah,
it's not a metric pile.
it's an imperial pile.
Yeah.
It says that some are, that the condition includes mold, so obviously we don't want those in circulation with students. And I think it's,
Or give the science department.
yeah, a little microbial study.
I'm in favor of authorizing her to dispose of the books that have been weeded out of the library. And I will make a motion as such.
Second. Any questions or comments about this? Any concerns?
I would like to say it's really nice to see that we're weeding out 600-something books, and we've got 700, almost 800 books that are coming back in. So it's getting rid of old books and replacing them with even more new books for the kids to read. So it's all the, she mentioned several different groups that were involved in making that happen, and it's really good to see that. So let's be said for turning pages in a book.
Right? Instead of scrolling on a device.
Right. All in favor of the media specialist disposing of the books? Aye. Aye.
Looking forward to the art projects. I want to see what they're going to do with it.
The next item is North Brookfield Public School Teachers Union / School Committee side letter pertaining to sick bank use.
So I did, in your packets, there is a draft that really has been looked at by both committee, or meaning the sick bank committee and the union leadership, and they are in favor of this potential draft or this potential proposal. But essentially what it is it in the teachers and the support staff contract, it's Article 11, there is an opportunity for people to buy in to the sick bank, sick leave bank. They can donate 2 days of their allotted sick time a year to this bank. And what can happen is if someone has a physical or some sort of emergency where they expend all their sick time, they can then go to the sick bank and request additional days. The sick bank is comprised of myself, 2 building principals, 2 teachers, and then the president of the union sits on as a non-voting member. And that's pretty standard. What is different about this potential ask is that this was brought forward by a staff member, not for themselves, but for a sick spouse that was in needing care. And this person has been paying into, if you will, to the sick bank. They had conversations with myself, Mr. DiOrio, members of the union. We were in agreement that we should bring it to the level of which the policy states we should bring it to the committee and discuss it, which we did. This ask was voted 5-0 in favor of supporting this potential staff member, but with that being said, we also recognize that this is outside of the contract language, so we would need a side letter signed and supported by both sides to honor this, seeing that it was time requested for supporting their sick spouse. Now, this person has gone through all their sick time, and in this meeting, we allotted 20 days that could be used either half days or full days based on the need to support this spouse. So that's the proposal in front of you. Like I said, it was voted in favor of unanimously by the board. And this may be something that we discuss during this current contract negotiations as looking at the language for this article moving forward. I did ask, just so the committee knows, I did ask both Mr. Surratt and Mr. Rigney if they wanted to attend tonight and speak on UNI's behalf. They were both unable to do so, and they said they were fine with me speaking about the side of it.
All right, we have a motion to approve the sick leave bank usage for family care.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments?
I have a question. How does this work with Family Medical Leave Act?
So that's a good question. What I think, two things. With family medical leave, and this particular staff member has been in the district for multiple years, so they have their time in. Family medical leave really only goes into place if the staff member's been in the district for at least a year. So if it was a new teacher per se, they would not be able to access that up until a year's worth of time. This provision, I think, was started prior to FMLA being really a thing that we use kind of with fidelity now in school districts and the workplace. And what this does is it requires the teacher or the staff member to expend all their sick time before accessing the sick bank. So FMLA, you don't need to necessarily expend all your sick time to pursue that. So that's one of the major differences there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I thought if you had, I might be wrong, but I thought that if you had applied for FMLA, the benefit you get is based on the number of sick days you still have. That maybe it's paid FMLA, I'm not sure, no?
We don't honor paid FMLA in the school district.
We don't?
We honor your position.
We have a question from,
On the FMLA, you get so many weeks off, whether it's paid or unpaid. And I would say that this would just give them more. If they had used 20 and then they got 20, it would give them 20 more paid under the FMLA.
You get a doctor's letter that says it's going to take 20
Yeah.
weeks and you don't have enough, so that you get paid, you still get your job back, but this will help you.
The only thing the
You get
FMLA
paid, yeah.
really does is hold your
It
position.
holds your position. It doesn't, once you've expended your sick time for FMLA, you don't get paid after those days are up.
Right.
This would allow you more days to use and you'd be paid during those days.
Thank you.
but this would be something where the employee comes to this board with a
Yes.
need and it gets approved and then on from there.
Yes, but the number of days is determined by the number of years you've been in the district. So you get, for the first year, you get 20 days. Then it goes up by 5 days each year after that. Support staff contract, they just started this back in 2021, so it's relatively new. So even if that staff member's been in the district for, say, 15, 20 years, they can only access the last 4 years based on the contract. Teachers who've been in the district for a long time can access all those years, and they may have up to, say, 80, 90 days that they have access to based on the sick bank leave language. So this person has more days that we could allow them to use. We started with 20, and the message will be, you can come back to the board if you need to use more days.
And what we're voting on too is an exception to the current language.
Correct. The current language only
for
allows
this.
this to happen for the person who's employed by the district if they become ill.
So our vote is really just for this one particular case.
Yes.
Any other questions or comments? All in favor of approving this sick leave bank usage for family care as approved by the sick bank board? Aye. And the last item for new business is the Commonwealth virtual school enrollment.
Right, so this is something that we have reviewed through this committee before. It requires a vote by the committee. And there's a template that DESI provides to superintendents and school leaders to submit to them. But essentially, as you're probably aware, we have students, and there's students throughout the Commonwealth who access virtual online learning. And this started well before COVID was even a thing. But Greenfield Virtual Academy, for example, TECA are two of the more well-known online platforms that students may use or may apply to enroll in. But what this cap is that we would like to cap the number of students in our district who can access this to 1% of our overall student population, which would be roughly 4 students. We currently have 2.27, which equates to 9 students who are enrolled in one of these virtual platforms. The way this reads is that this would not affect those students, so they can continue to be educated through these platforms even if we vote to cap it at 1%. It just means that for next year, that we can only allow 1% of our student population to be enrolled in one of these.
What was the former percentage?
2.27.
That was the former
That's the
percentage?
current. That's the current.
Yeah, but that's a number. What, I remember voting on this, but I don't remember what our number was.
I'd have to look back in my minutes, my notes. That's what DESI's reporting.
Why would we lower it?
Well, a couple of reasons. I think that there's a financial component to this. There's when a student does enroll in an online platform, sometimes it's very favorable for that student, sometimes it's not. It's also more money out of the district for those students. It's roughly 9,000 plus for those students compared to 5,000. It's very similar to what a student school choice is out. It's just more money that the district is losing in essence. I think that we have worked very hard. Mr. Diorio can speak to this. It's predominantly at the middle and high school level. We have students who we are trying to re-engage into the school setting, and they often look to this as a way to kind of not come to school. And we often find out that these students aren't attending, and they basically become drops for the district. And we want to really work harder to re-engage those students as opposed to just pushing them onto a virtual school platform. It works well for some students, but that number of students it works well for is not a large number.
So the 2.27, it says it would not, the current enrollment, is that only through the end of this school year? And then it would drop or?
No, we would, if those students all remained, we would have over 1% enrolled, but we can only allow another 1% for next year to enroll in a virtual online platform.
So these students that are currently enrolled
would not be.
Does that carry on until they graduate?
Until they graduate or decide to re-enroll back into classes or whatever they decide to do. Yes.
Okay.
So they're not jeopardized in any way if we adopt this 1%.
So basically that 1.27% is grandfathered in over the 1% cap.
Yes.
And so next year, are we already capped for next year, or is that 4 more kids could possibly do?
So we could have 4 new students who could enroll in one of these platforms for next year.
All right, I'm sorry that I didn't understand that fully.
On top of the other students who are currently enrolled if they stay enrolled.
I think it was 3% that we voted. I'm almost certain, but don't quote me, but I do remember it was like one of the first things I voted on because I remember this. But I don't remember the number.
Sorry, I failed to, did we do a motion? I don't think we did.
No, sorry.
Do a
I'll
motion.
move to approve it.
Do I have a second?
So now we can talk about it.
Yeah. No, I asked a question first. It's my
Okay,
fault.
all right.
Any other questions or comments? All right. All in favor of approving the 1% cap on virtual school enrollment? Aye.
Aye.
I vote no. I think it should be higher than that. I don't know if that's it. That's what it's, so, sorry.
I believe that's it for new business, and we have an executive session, so
I would move that we adjourn to executive session from the regular meeting and only reconvene to end the regular meeting.
You need a little cart, you got this down.
yeah.
Second.
All in favor of moving to executive session
Aye.
as noted?
Tim Canada, yes.
John Gario, yes.
Tanya Matthews, yes.
Thank you everyone for attending. Happy to see a large turnout.
Yeah.